Hi friends, Chandrasekhar here again. This is the second in the series of lecture of uh, an approach to analysis of a chart. We have already seen in the earlier lecture the importance of Lagna. Uh, if there is any confusion about why Lagna becomes so important, we have to understand that Lagna represents the entire personality of the Jataka. And all the other bhavas represent what how that jataka looks at that bhava and what will be his relations with that bhava. So for example, say malefic is in the third house, which generally indicates not very good relations with brother, but you will see that in some cases one brother doesn't have good relations with other, whereas the other one has very good relations with the brother who is uh, we can say troublesome. So we have to understand it is our mother. See, mother may pamper one jataka but not his sibling. So for that other sibling, naturally there would be some malefic influence on the fourth bhava. So this we have to understand. So whatever is being asked or when we want to confirm something, see that understand that it is from the point of view of jataka first, and then your understanding of what must be the relation between the jataka and that bhava. Having said that, next step would be, I remember when I was very young and once I asked my father, who was himself a very good astrologer, he was a doctor by profession anyway, and I had learnt astrology from my grandmother, his mother, but I asked him how to look at a chart, because many a times we don't understand a chart. So he used to say, look at the fifth bhava and ninth bhava first. Look whether there is strength in those bhavas, their lords, aspects on their bhavas, if they are good. Then half the battle is won. The reason perhaps, that time I did not understand why did he say that, but the reason perhaps is fifth house, to my mind, represents the intellect and the acquired knowledge. So knowledge which is beyond that minimum educational qualification required for get a career in that point of time, because this will differ in old age. I mean the earlier generations maybe matriculate was more than enough to get a good job, and now even in India at least post graduation may not even suffice to get a good job. So this will go on shifting, but the fourth house is generally the one which is capable of importing what is available in the 10th house, which is the house of career. One. Ninth house represents dharma. Now what is the definition of dharma? Religion is one definition, a very narrow definition of dharma. But the basic definition from point of view of Hindus is dharayati iti dharmaha. That which is worthy of being upheld is dharma. So what is worthy of being upheld is the righteous behavior. Now we understand that if one has an intellect, good intellect, indicated by the fifth bhava, and has learned from experience, he would understand what needs to be done at the particular point of time, what is the right behavior. Vice versa, if one understands what must be done at a particular point of time, what is right to do, then he would have enough not only intellect but also has learned from experiences in his own life what needs to be done. So this is the basis. Next comes, we should look at another point, which is whether there is a connection between the square lord and the trine lord. Reason being, even Parashara says is, of course, in a very flowery language, he calls the Kendra Bhava, the squares, as the place of Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and ninth Bhava as the place of Lakshmi. So what to my mind it indicates is naturally Lakshmi, if with Vishnu, then it makes the perfect couple which can sustain the universe. And so I also look at it in a slightly different manner, that we can say the energy comes from the squares, whereas the intellect to use that energy in the proper way would naturally come from the ninth or the fifth bhava, which are trines. When we say trines, these are the basic trines. Of course, you have to understand that whenever these two come together, these bhavas or their lords happen to have some connection between each other. Usually the lords is even better, Then there is what we call as a Raja Yoga. Now, what is Raja Yoga? It is not somebody wearing a crown on his head. We must understand this. Raja Yoga is always a connection with the position of the financial and power position of the Jataka at the point of his birth. Whenever he grows beyond that is a Raj Yoga, more for wealth, and since wealth also gives you some power, yes, we can say power. So don't be under that impression that just because a Raja Yoga is there, that person will be a king or a president or whatever. We have to take these things in a, see, this is, let us say, it is sort of a principle of relativity, relative to the condition of the family of the Jataka at the point of his birth. The extent of strength of Raja Yoga that would be required for propelling him to some higher level would depend. This has to be understood. It's very important. Next is, our problem is we always think malefics are bad. No, malefics have energy, whereas benefics have knowledge, and so unless both of them come together in the proper manner, nothing would happen. So now, having said this, I hope I am not boring you, because this becomes a bit tedious to understand. Who wants to know that? People want to know the yogas. Okay. Now the next point, one thing which I have observed, and it has of course some basis in the ancient texts also. Generally, somebody getting a growth out of proportion to his original beginnings might have some planet in debility, and it is said that in Kali Yuga you need some planet in debility for some yoga to come with full force. And if I remember right, Chandrakala Nadi says that if there are 3 planets in exaltation, there better be one in debility for effects to be realized by the Jataka. The effects means the effects of wealth and power and good luck and whatever you could connect with the exalted planets. One planet needs to be in debility. Now these debility planets again have a sort of a we again make a mistake of thinking that all debility planets will give negative results. No, that is not the case. It would depend on where they are placed, which we will be covering in when I talk about individual bhava lords in certain places. But remember that malefics are supposed to be bad, but they are supposed to be very good in 3, 6 and 11. So don't go by that standard technique of malefic harming every time and benefiting somebody every time. You know that benefics in the 3rd bhava make one person diffident. Katar, they say. Katar means one who is afraid, but don't take it in that sense. It is basically he would not have that cutting edge or that ruthlessness to achieve something by taking down his opponents, which when the planet is in 3rd bhava and is a benefic, he would not want to do that. So one has always to balance between all these things. Then about wealth, the next question which is generally connected is wealth. Always remember that wealth is transient as is life, but usually if there is more strength to the 2nd and the 11th bhava because it is ayah, income, and labha, the profit. 2nd bhava is the accumulated wealth, the sanchita dhana sthana, which includes the ornaments and your investments and whatever. All that is indicated by the 2nd. It is also your speech, of course. And if these are more fortified than the 12th bhava of the expenditure, then that person is bound to have some wealth left with him. It is almost like that example of 2 water taps of 1 inch each entering in a tank and sending water in the tank, and another tap which is at the bottom of the receptacle and which is only of say 1.5 inch of size, taking away the water, still ½ inch of water will be left, isn't it? Even if the expenses are maybe relatively more. So these things should be understood. Next is Venus in the 12th house generally gives, he likes luxury, and the wherewithals of luxury are also available to the Jataka. This is the usual case. Always remember that there will be different planets aspecting the 12th house, conjunct the Venus itself, the Lagna may be different. So don't go by some set formula. Now that is a mistake which is generally made. And I would want to warn the young and budding astrologer, I hope the learned already know that we should take things in proper perspective. Even the yogas, we have to find out where the yoga occurs. Unless you know where it is going to occur, you don't know where it is going to fructify. You might have a yoga, but the place may be different. And for those who are well versed with Mahabharata or ancient text, you will remember that Karna, the eldest brother of Pandava, was born at X place, that is in Kunti, their mother's place, her father's place. He was left off in a stream of river. He was found by the charioteer of a king and later on became the king because he helped Duryodhana and so on and so forth. So his becoming a king was not certainly when he was with his mother, is very obvious. Whereas other Pandavas were with their mother only, and they became king. They of course lost the kingdom, regained it and other things. But you have to understand, many a times the yoga can happen at a different place. We see the yoga and many a times astrologers are surprised why this yoga is not, this is a wonderful yoga and why doesn't it fructify? Perhaps it is happening at the yoga is going to be available to the Jataka at a different place, maybe in distant lands, maybe at his brother's place, working with the father and so on and so forth, or some unexpected thing would propel him to get benefit from that yoga. All these things must be understood. Also never forget that though planets in exaltation are supposed to be good and powerful, which they are anyway, the latter part is certain, but benefic planets, when malefic, will give extremely malefic results, whereas benefic planets, when in exaltation, so very strong, will give extremely benefic results. In case of Saturn, it is exactly the reverse. Saturn, when extremely strong, gives the least negative results, and when he is weak, he is likely to harm the least, where the place he occupies, and there of course he may cause some problem, because when weak he is more malefic, capable of doing more harm. But again there you have to understand these things, and which I will perhaps take up sometime after the Bhava Lord placement in another Bhava is over, and understand that this is the basic natal chart. We must confirm whether many of the things of the natal chart are matching the Jataka who is sitting in front of us. That is why it is always better if the Jataka is sitting in front of an astrologer, so he can find out the Lagna, he can find out about his education. Now the primary education should be, at least in these days, primary and secondary education should be seen from the second bhava. From the fourth bhava, the graduation or the minimum level required to get job in a particular country where the Jataka is located. Malefics there would indicate some harm, some setback at that level of education, at least once. Benefics there would indicate that the education would be smooth. And once we confirm all these, then as I was saying that whether, see, if Venus is in the Lagna, we know Venus represents sight as such, whereas Sun represents the right eye and Moon represents the left eye. That is what is said by the learned. So when Sun is in the Lagna, generally the person's eyes are pretty attractive. So all these things you must do. First fix the Lagna. Having fixed the Lagna, confirm whether other things are correct. Like the second house of family, the speech, the way he speaks, that person speaks. The sixth house perhaps of diseases, if when we come to that part you will learn about it. Difficulty or ease of getting legacy to be seen from the 8th house. Speech of the father or wealth of the father could be seen from the 10th house, and harm to father or harm to mother could be seen from the 4th house. Balarishta, whether that person had some problems at birth or very within a very short span of time after birth, I would say about 7 or 8 years. very serious problems. You can find out if moon is in the 6, 8 or 12 and aspected by a malefic. It can also indicate trouble to the mother, but generally to the both. So these are the tools which we use to find out whether not only is the lagna correct, but also the other bhavas are also expressing in the right direction as we are thinking they would. Once we are certain, then only go ahead with the, you know, mm, prediction or analysis of the chart, or if you want to make a general prediction, which I don't like. Generally, you should only concentrate your mind on the question specifically asked so that you can decide which bhava to analyze better and understand from it. Vinshottari dashas are there and the transits are there and you can use everything. But let us first be certain that the data which we are analyzing is the right data. Why I am talking about this even after say lagna is fixed, what happens is, because we have seen in the earlier lecture, if I remember right, when I said that planets from trine also can influence, so that lagna could be either the lagna that you have decided or anything in trines to it, because that is when even the negative effects of Saturn's movement, the transits, would be perhaps similar. So we must basically do this and then we can proceed. The problem is, I have seen in modern days is to go either for the prediction at the top of the hat, or take too long a time, go on into 20, 100, or even a million calculations, wait for 2 days and think. I would rather say both the things are not very fair. Take time with the Jataka, understand him. As I said, whether Chara Lagna, Viswabhav Lagna, you find out, and then go ahead with the prediction. So I think this should be enough for a basic understanding of the chart. As I was saying, always understand that basically what the Jataka is experiencing with those bhavas would be represented by the natal chart. So if there is malefic on the 4th house, maybe he would have some difference of opinion with his mother. It is not necessarily the mother will be bad or good. These two things are absolute. As perceived by the Jataka, what happens in those bhavas. This information we use to fix the lagna correctly, the chart correctly, and then only we go ahead. I hope I am not boring you. Let me know. And by the way, somebody had asked me why I am saying that 7th bhava is the bhava for short travels. In one of the lectures, I think on 7th bhava I must have said that, and I would like to, I have already explained in the comments, but I would like to draw his attention to Manasagari, where that is specifically said that 7th is Gamana Sthana. Gaman means going and coming. Avagaman we actually say, but when in Sanskrit you write something, you can, when you say Gaman or when we say going, naturally coming also is there. The duration is short. That is already given in the Manasagari. So though I give my interpretation, believe me, there is always some basis in some classic, astrological classic, not the modern ones, not even my book, in the sages or those which are supposed to be the standard text in Jyotish, like Phaladipika, Jatak Parijat, Parasarora Shastra, Dargahua, all, there would be something there. Even Chandrakala Nadi has some very wonderful things which we can use to first fix the lagna, and next is to analyze what is likely to happen. Even understanding of the planets in exaltation and debility, we will find that many texts have also said, and even the venerated H.N. Katwe was leading it, that the planets in debility give better results than planets in exaltation. Of course, my opinion is a bit different, but I don't deny what he is saying, and we will talk about it sometime later when we talk about planets occupying houses. I think after this, I would like to go to perhaps what happens when one bhava lord is placed in another bhava. Remember, this will be isolated incident of one bhava lord going to another bhava. This would always be modified by aspects on it, his strength or weakness, and so on and so forth. So in the next lecture, perhaps we will start with that. So my friends, I take your leave. I hope I am not boring you, and do let me know if you have any suggestions. I will try to incorporate that somewhere or other, I mean in some lecture or other. And please remember that I always talk extempore. I cannot read the script and tell you something. That is not my way of doing things. And I hope you appreciate my effort to impart knowledge for posterity to continue with it. So thank you very much, and I take your leave. Goodbye.